Welcome to the history of Artemide Zatti. Artemide Zatti was born on 12th October 1880 in Boreto in northern Italy. His parents were Albina Vecchi and Luigi Zatti. He was the third of 8 siblings in a family of land laborers. Poor living conditions in the countryside and wars forced him into poverty. In 1897, the Zatti family emigrated to Argentina like many other Italian families in search of a better future. They settled in the city of Bahia Blanca in the north of Argentine Patagonia. Pressed by economic necessities, Artemide began working in a factory. He began to frequent the Salesian parish nearby where they cared for the poor and the sick. There, he learned about Don Bosco and became friends with the parish priest Carlos Cavalli. Together with him, Artemide began to dream of his Salesian vocation. At the age of 20, with great effort, he entered the Salesian aspirantate in Bernal and resumed his studies. There, he was tasked with caring for a priest suffering from tuberculosis. Eventually, he also contracted the disease. In 1902, he was sent for his treatment to the Salesian Hospital, San Jose, in Viedma. There he met Seferino Namuncura, who was also recovering from his illness. He promised to dedicate his life to the caring for the sick. Father Evasio Garrone, director of the hospital, and Zatti prayed to Mary, help of Christians, for his health. Artemide later said, "I believed, I promised, and I am healed." Having overcome the worst of the illness, Artemide thought again about his vocation. Sharing his daily life with the Salesian community and with the poor and sick in the hospital led him to decide for a religious life as a Salesian coadjutor. In 1908, he formally entered the Salesian congregation and began working in the hospital. When Father Garrone died in 1911, Artemide became the director of the institute. In those years, the poor and abandoned, and those who had been rejected by other hospitals, and those who came from faraway areas such as the Andes Mountains, received privileged attention. He received letters from all over the world with requests for medicines. Zatti led the expansion of the hospital to make it one of the most important ones in Patagonia. Artemide was characterized by his simplicity, austerity, joy, and constant service. He saw Jesus in every sick person, both in those who came to the hospital and those he went out to look for in Viedma on his bicycle. Attentive to the needs of the people, he got qualified first as a pharmacist and then as a nurse. Zatti did not work alone. In the hospital, there were doctors, nurses, volunteers, Daughters of Mary, Help of Christians, as well as his community of Salesians with whom he shared his life, work, and prayer. In 1934, Zatti was chosen to participate in the canonization of Don Bosco in Italy. The whole town of Viedma rejoiced at this recognition. In 1941, however, Zatti was saddened to learn that he would have to leave the hospital, to which he had dedicated 40 years of his life. The sick were moved to a Salesian school on the outskirts of the city. Everything had to be improvised, but Zatti was convinced that the important thing was to cure the sick and save the people and not the building. At the age of 70, Zatti fell from a ladder, and although he soon recovered from the blow, symptoms of cancer began to appear which would lead to his death within 6 months. He died on 15th March in 1951. Simple, humble, and hard-working people flocked to pay homage to him. For them, Zatti will always be the relative of all the poor. His fame as a holy nurse spread not only in Patagonia but far and wide. Sometime later, He was also recognized by the Church, first as a blessed and then later as a saint, to show us that it is possible to follow Jesus and live holiness while practicing one's profession. Did you get to know Zatti? What strikes you most about his life? Leave us your comments below. Learn more about him at zatti.org.